Hello students, welcome back to your Obs and Gynae online class. This is in continuation of your last class on pelvic organ prolapse. We talked about the supports of uterus and vaginal wall, the predisposing factors causing their weakness and producing their descent, grading of prolapse, symptoms produced, and also its differentials. In this video, I am going to talk about treatments of pelvic organ prolapse. First, you must know whom to treat. A woman with asymptomatic prolapse needs only expectant management, education and reassurance, and advice on removing predisposing factors like reducing obesity, correcting anemia, chronic cough, constipation, pelvic floor muscle exercises, etc. But in symptomatic prolapse, you have to give treatment in order to alleviate symptoms. Treatment of prolapse is individualized and customized in consideration with types and severity of symptoms, age of the woman, coexisting medical conditions, desire for future fertility and sexual function, and risk of recurrence. The treatment modalities include the conservative mode and surgical methods. Conservative methods include pelvic floor muscle exercise, example Kegel's exercise, with use of pessary with or without estrogen cream, treating constipation, chronic cough, excessive weight, etc., which are the predisposing factors. Surgical correction include conservative surgery and radical surgery. Pelvic floor muscle exercise or Kegel's exercise, it doesn't cure prolapse, but it definitely prevents its further progression. Kegel is an exercise of pelvic floor muscles or levator ani muscles in which woman is advised to constrict her perineal and pelvic floor muscles as done in order to hold urination. The muscles are constricted for 5 seconds and then released. This process is repeated 10 to 15 times, 3 to 4 times a day. It improves pelvic floor muscle tone and stress urinary incontinence and also prevents further progression. Vaginal estrogen cream is used if signs of hypoestrogenism like vaginal atrophy is present. Also for treatment of vaginal erosion, and it is applied 1 to 2 times per week locally. Pessaries provide mechanical support and can be support or space filling type. The most common support pessary is ring pessary. It is successful in early stages of prolapse. The space filling, for example, Gellhorn, donut or cube, of which Gellhorn is the most commonly used, is for advanced prolapse. The smallest pessary that reduces pelvic organ prolapse should be used. With well-fitted pessary, women should not feel vaginal discomfort or pressure, should not obstruct urinary flow, should be removed each night and replaced in the morning, and should be changed every 3 months. So, proper hygiene has to be practiced with the use of pessary. Pessaries are used when surgical management is not feasible or is to be postponed for some reasons, like a young woman planning a pregnancy, during early pregnancy, that is less than 18 weeks, during puerperium, temporary use while clearing infection and decubitus ulcer, a woman unfit for surgery, or in case woman refuses surgery. Pessary with Kegels improves symptoms and quality of life in women. Limitations of pessary are, it is only palliative, it is not curative. It can cause vaginitis, needs to be changed every 3 months, and forgotten pessary may cause ulcer and vesicovaginal fistula. So with pessary, hygiene and compliance is a necessary factor. So contraindication of pessary are not compliant patient, vaginal fistulas, undiagnosed uterovaginal bleeding. What is decubitus ulcer? Decubitus ulcer is a type of trophic ulcer. It takes place because of venous congestion and ischemic necrosis, and it occurs over the most dependent part of the cervix, which is usually the anterior lip of the cervix. Its treatment is reduction of prolapse by use of pessary or by daily packing with glycerin and acne fluid. So reducing the prolapse, repositioning the prolapse to its original position, normal position, restores circulation and promotes healing of decubitus ulcer. Now the aim of pelvic surgery is to restore anatomy, maintain or restore visceral function, and maintain or restore normal reproductive and sexual function. The basis of reconstructive surgeries are to correct descent of uterus or wall by suspending or attaching the vagina or the uterus, vaginal wall or the uterus to a static structure. A static structure, for example, a bony structure like sacrum, anterior iliac spine, or to a dynamic structure, for example, rectus sheath. When we are using a static structure like bone, it is supporting the uterus or vaginal wall at all moments, at all the time, while a dynamic structure gives support when it is needed. For example, when there is raised intra-abdominal pressure or cuff, the abdominal wall contracts and pulls the uterus or the vault in its place. It prevents it from descending. It may be static support or it may be dynamic support, and this support is provided, that is, the uterus of the vaginal vault is attached to different structures in the pelvis or to the abdominal wall with the help of either patient's own tissue or with the help of some synthetic non-reactive material like muslin tape or Prolene mesh. So, for construction of anterior vaginal wall defect, which may be because of cystocele or erythrocele, anterior corporaphy is done where vaginal mucosa is dissected free from the fascia over the bladder and urethra. Redundant part of the vaginal mucosa is excised and the edges of the vaginal mucosa are sutured in the midline after plication of pubocervical fascia. Thus, there is tightening of the vaginal mucosa and the redundant part has been removed. The pubocervical fascia or the bladder has been supported. Reconstruction of posterior vaginal wall similarly, for example, in case of rectocele, is called posterior colporrhaphy, where the process is same as done on the anterior vaginal wall. The posterior vaginal wall mucosa is dissected free from the fascia over the rectum. The redundant vaginal mucosa, excess vaginal mucosa, is excised and after plication of rectovaginal fascia, and the edges of the vaginal mucosa are sutured in the midline after plication of pubocervical fascia. Thus, there is tightening of the vaginal mucosa and the redundant part has been removed. The pubocervical fascia or the bladder has been supported. Reconstruction of posterior vaginal wall similarly, for example, in case of rectocele, is called posterior colporrhaphy, where the process is same as done on the anterior vaginal wall. The posterior vaginal wall mucosa is dissected free from the fascia over the rectum. The redundant vaginal mucosa, excess vaginal mucosa, is excised and after plication of rectovaginal fascia in the midline, the vaginal mucosa is tightened and sutured in the midline to support rectum. Apical vaginal prolapse include uterine prolapse, enterocele or wall prolapse. So it may be uterus preserving or radical. So uterus preserving surgeries are done usually in young women desirous to preserve reproductive or menstrual function. So there are different types of uterus preserving surgeries like sacrohysteropexy. Sacrohysteropexy literally means attaching the uterus to the sacrum. So abdominal or laparoscopic approach can be used for suspension of the uterus to sacral promontory or anterior longitudinal ligament using a strip of synthetic mesh. This may be done vaginally also, but this is called vaginal sacrospinous hysteropexy, where uterus is suspended to sacrospinous ligament to preserve a reproductive or menstrual function. She can be offered sacrohysteropexy, vaginal sacrospinous hysteropexy, or abdominal sling surgeries. There are various types of abdominal sling surgeries, a few of which I am mentioning here. The Schrodinger's sling surgery. Here, one end of muslin tape is attached to the anterior longitudinal ligament over the sacrum, passed subperitoneally along the right pelvic wall between the leaves of broad ligament and transects to isthmus posterior. It then passes to the left side between leaves of left broad ligament, through psoas loop, through sigmoid mesentery, back to the anterior longitudinal ligament. So basic idea is to attach the posterior part of the isthmus of the uterus to the anterior longitudinal ligament on both sides, from both sides. But this procedure is a little bit difficult, especially on the left side where we have to pass the muslin tape through the psoas loop and through the sigmoid mesentery. In Purandale's or Maitre's, Purandale and Maitre's sling surgery, which is also known as cervicopexy. Posterior isthmus is attached to the rectus sheath using Marcelline tape. In canal sling surgery, posterior isthmus is attached to the anterior superior iliac spine. Advantage of attaching or slinging the posterior part of the cervix to these structures like the bony or wall is that it also anteverts the uterus. So when the cervix is pulled from behind, the uterus comes forward and it becomes anteverted, which further prevents prolapse. In different sling surgeries, posterior part of the isthmus of the uterus is attached to various structures. Like in chirurgical sling surgery, it is attached to the anterior longitudinal ligament of sacrum. In Purandare and Madrid sling surgery, it is attached to the rectus sheath using Marcelline tape. And in canal sling surgery, the posterior isthmus is attached to the anterior superior iliac spine. So you don't need to go into the detail of these procedures, just know how they support the uterus and corrects the weaknesses. One popular surgery is Fothergill and Manchester procedure. This is also uterus preserving surgery and very commonly done. This is for young age patient, especially with cervical elongation, as in case of nulliparous prolapse. It combines anterior corporaphy, partial amputation of cervix, which is also known as partial trachelectomy, posterior corpoperineuropathy, suturing of the cut cardinal ligaments on anterior cervix to tighten these ligaments. So the ligaments are exposed on sides of the cervix. They are cut from their attachment, lateral side, and brought in front of the cervix and tightened, sutured there. So in this way, the cardinal ligaments are tightened, and also they push the cervix back, making the uterus anteverted, and also lengthens the anterior vaginal wall. Dilatation and curettage. Dilatation of the cervix is a must to facilitate reconstruction of cervix, and curettage to rule out malignancy. Covering a raw cervix with vaginal flap. So when you are cutting the cervix, there is a raw cervix which you have to cover, make a vaginal flap by dissecting the vaginal mucosa, and with this flap the raw cervix is covered. Avoided in women desiring future pregnancy because of complications. Because you are cutting the cervix, it heals from fibrosis and may result in cervical stenosis or cervical insufficiency, leading to recurrent pregnancy loss or obstructed labor. So it is avoided in women desiring future pregnancy. Another modification of this Fothergill procedure is Schrodinger's procedure, or this is also known as extended Manchester operation. He used uterosacral ligament because he thought uterosacral ligaments were the most important ligaments to provide support to the uterus. So a deep cul-de-sac is opened, high closure of peritoneal pouch of the Douglas is done in modification of Fothergill's. Here uterosacral ligaments are cut and sutured in front of cervix instead of the cardinal ligament. Cervix is not amputated, and rest of the procedures as in Fothergill's operation. This procedure can be combined with anterior corporaphy. If she has posterior vaginal wall prolapse, this procedure will be combined with posterior corporaphy, and if she has perineal descent, then perineuraphy. Another uterus preserving surgery is a Lee-Ford colpoclysis. This is for very old women with advanced prolapse or debilitated women unfit for major surgery. So very old, debilitated, who are not a good surgical candidate, but has symptomatic prolapse, they can be treated by obliterative method. This is obliterative surgery. Patch of anterior and posterior vaginal mucosa is removed, and the raw areas thus created are approximated in the midline. Anteroposteriorly, thus the vagina is obliterated. Procedure can be performed under sedation, local or epidural anesthesia. So it is safe, requires less time, and prior ruling out of cervical or uterine or adnexal malignancy is a must. Now coming to radical surgery. Ward-Mayo surgery is the most commonly done surgery for pelvic organ prolapse. It combines anterior corporaphy, posterior corpoperineuropathy or posterior corporaphy, and vaginal hysterectomy at the same setting. Vaginal hysterectomy with wall support. Whenever vaginal hysterectomy is being done abdominal or vaginal way, wall must be supported to prevent future wall prolapse. Wall suspension with uterosacral and cardinal ligaments obliteration of deep cul-de-sac by Moscovitch suture. We will see what is Moscovitch sutures, sacrocolpopexy in high-risk situations like collagen disorder, and estrogen replacement therapy post-operatively. So in order to, after hysterectomy, suture the vault, and in order to prevent the vault from falling down, either you can suspend the vault with uterosacral or cardinal ligaments, and if the cul-de-sac is deep, it must be obliterated by some method like Moscovitch, Halban's, we will see in later slides. Sacrocolpopexy in high-risk situation like collagen disorder. When there is collagen disorder, patient has collagen disorder, her tissues are weak, then using a mesh, sacrocolpopexy can be done. That is, the vaginal vault is suspended to the sacrum with the use of mesh. Then at the same time, post-operatively, estrogen replacement therapy can be done in women with atrophic vaginal tissue. So surgery for enterocele, there are various ways to correct enterocele. One of the simple ways is that peritoneal sac is separated from the vaginal wall, redundant sac is ligated at its neck as high as possible and is excised. The second is Bicol culdoplasty. This is also very commonly usually done. Sutures incorporate uterosacral cardinal ligaments to the peritoneum and the posterior vaginal wall apex, posterior vaginal apex. When sutures is tied, it draws the posterior vaginal apex to the supporting structure, elevating it to normal position and obliterating cul-de-sac at the same time. So this is for both preventing wall prolapse and correcting enterocele. Another procedure is Moscovitch procedure, which is done abdominally and bursting suturing of pouch of Douglas from below upwards by taking multiple sutures, one over the another. Bursting sutures is taken, and in this way the pouch of Douglas is closed. In Halban procedure, here also abdominally done. This is also abdominally done procedure where obliteration of pouch of Douglas is done by vertical sutures. Surgery for wall prolapse. These surgeries are abdominal sacrocolpopexy, sacrospinous ligament fixation, uterosacral ligament vaginal vault suspension. The abdominal sacrocolpopexy involves open or laparoscopically. Here, the vaginal vault is suspended with the help of a mesh to the sacrum. Sacrospinous ligament fixation, here vault is suspended to the unilateral or bilateral sacrospinous ligament. Uterosacral ligament vaginal vault suspension, as is clear from the name, uterosacral ligaments are used to suspend the vaginal wall. The risks of surgery are pain, bleeding, infection, damage to the surrounding structures, and need for further procedure. The pain is usually short-lived, and because of some minor complications like constipation, post-operative constipation, or wound stretching, there may be bleeding, there may be infection, or damage to the surrounding structures like rectum, bladder, urethra, or ureter. And there may be need for further procedures like wound breakdown in case of newly developed stress urinary incontinence or in case of recurrence of prolapse. So this is about the treatment modality, different treatment modalities available, how they are applied to individual case scenario, taking into consideration patient's desire, patient's age, or her tissue characteristics, the types and severity of prolapse, etc. So I hope you all would have been able to understand it well. Please go through both the videos, part 1 and part 2, to make a better understanding. Thank you.